Hey everyone, it's Lisa from the blog Farmhouse on Boone.com, where I like to share food from scratch, our handmade home, and our simple lifestyle here on Boone Street. And today I want to talk to you about how to make homemade sourdough English muffins, why we like to eat them here, and how to make them in the cast iron skillet. First of all, why you would want to make these. I shared with you in my how to use a sourdough starter, how to make a sourdough starter video, all about our sourdough starter and how we've had it for over 6 years and I use it for so many things. I think it is most well known, of course, for sourdough bread. And sourdough bread is absolutely delicious. It has a depth of flavor that regular bread just does not have. It is definitely something worth making. However, if you are a mom of 5 or busy, which you can be busy with all sorts of things, not just kids, work, whatever, you will probably get frustrated with making sourdough bread. There's definitely a learning curve to it. It's a very fun thing to try. I've done it, it's enjoyable, but for my regular everyday life, it is just not a practical thing to make. It takes a lot of time, a lot of proofing and rising, and it's just too much for me. So instead, we like to use sourdough English muffins. They are so simple to make, so I have the recipe memorized in my head. It is just something that you can throw together in no time, and it has that same sandwich bread-like consistency and taste. So it's kind of a way to have sourdough bread, the health benefits of it, without having to actually make sourdough bread, which is exactly what I love about it. I'm going to assume that you've already watched the sourdough starter video or have a knowledge on how to use a sourdough starter. If not, please go visit that. It's in the link below, and I'm also going to put it up there in the cards so you can click on that and watch that first so you know how to make a sourdough starter, why the heck you would even want to make a sourdough starter, the health benefits of it, all that kind of information. You can watch that video to find that out. But once you're familiar with it and you want to make some things, let's dive into making sourdough English muffin. This is going to be a 2-part video. I'm going to record half today and half tomorrow because there is a little bit of planning that has to happen with this, although very quick and easy planning. But we do have to mix up some flour, water, and sourdough starter and allow that to sit overnight. So I'm making this at 2:30 in the afternoon, and I'm going to probably make these into English muffins tomorrow in the morning for breakfast time. Now, the best amount of time to let it sit is anywhere from 12 to 24 hours. It also, of course, can depend on how warm your house is. It is 12 degrees outside right now, so it is very cold, but we have a wood furnace, so our house is probably about 68 to 70 degrees. So a longer proofing time is probably good. Now, if it's summer and your house is 80, you might want to go more towards the 12 hours. It'll get a little bit more sour if it sits too long, but it won't be bad. Either way, 12 to 24 hours should be good. It will ferment more the longer it sits, and if it sat too long, the good bacteria that is inside consuming all of that flour and water and being fed will not be able to live beyond a certain amount of time with the food allotted to it. 12 to 24 hours is good, anywhere in that range. So we're gonna start with 2 cups of flour. You can use white, you can use all-purpose bread flour, you can use whole grain, you can use white whole grain, you can use freshly ground. I'm going to use this Bob's Red Mill 100% stone ground whole wheat pastry flour. I think it was just what was on sale at my grocery store. I've never had any trouble switching back and forth between these kinds of flours. I've also even used einkorn, and in a pinch, I just fed my starter with whatever. I've never had negative results from it. Now, some sourdough starter experts might shake their heads at that, but it's never been a problem for me, and mine does really, really well. So today I'm going to use this, and I'm going to put 2 cups in my glass bowl. And to that, I'm going to add a cup of filtered water, which if you see my other videos, you've seen that big, funny looking stainless steel thing on the counter. That's my Berkey water filter. It's a black carbon water filter, and I also have the extra fluoride and arsenic filters because you don't want to feed your sourdough starter chlorine or anything like that. So it depends on what kind of water you have where you live. And then a 1/2 cup of fed sourdough starter. So you can see mine's nice and bubbly and fed and happy. And so we're going to add a 1/2 cup of that. So this is a really easy recipe to remember because it's half cup, 1 cup, 2 cup. So the night before, you do half cup of sourdough, 1 cup of water, 2 cups of flour, stir it all up, put a towel over it, and then just let it sit for 12 to 24 hours. That's all you do for that first step. So if you're thinking, you know, maybe tomorrow we'll want English muffins for sandwiches or breakfast. They taste really great, toasted with some butter and honey. They're good with, you know, meat and cheese as a sandwich. So very, very versatile. You can serve them as a breakfast sandwich with eggs and bacon or sausage. That's really good. So about like that. And we're just gonna let this bubble and ferment overnight at room temperature, not in the fridge, at room temperature with a towel over it. And then we'll revisit this tomorrow to do the rest of the recipe. It has been a full 24 hours. I intended to do this in the morning, but of course I can't actually record when my kids are all up, which I should know. So I waited till nap time. And so it sat since yesterday at nap time when I first recorded the first video. And I'll apologize if you hear a little background noise because my boys are supposed to be napping, but you know, they might not be. I'm gonna do a little close-up right now to show you all the bubbles that developed inside the bowl overnight. So the sourdough starter is active and the cultures inside are just eating up all of that flour that we fed it. And so everything is nice and bubbly, and that's how you know you have a good sourdough starter, which is excellent. So now we're gonna do the rest, which is very, very simple. First and foremost, you need to preheat your cast iron skillets. Like usual, you want to preheat anything that's cast iron to make it non-stick. Now, I don't wash my cast iron often, and the last thing I cooked in this was actually a tutorial I'm gonna show you guys, and that's how to make a sourdough pizza crust. But it's clean enough that the sourdough English muffin shouldn't stick, especially if we preheat it. So I just wiped it out, didn't use any water. I'm going to put a little bit of coconut oil while these are preheating here. I'm gonna go ahead and turn these pans down to low because I like to let my sourdough English muffins rise a little bit, and the low heat really helps that process along. So we're not actually gonna be exactly cooking them at this point. Basically, we're going to get them to rise. So I've got the coconut oil melted. I'm gonna flip these down to low. I'm gonna let those sit on low while I add in the rest of the ingredients. So I'm gonna add in a tablespoon of honey, a teaspoon of salt, and a teaspoon of baking soda. So I'm gonna stir that in, but I'm probably gonna have to use my hands a little bit, which I'm fine with. I know the YouTube hygiene police might get me, but I did wash my hands, and this is just for my family. And with a lot of cooking, you just have to use your hands. It's just part of it. I want to divide this, I would say, in about 12 portions. I'm not too particular about that, but I'm just going to get them in, 2 or 3 tablespoon little hunks. And you may have to coat your hands with a little bit of flour to work with this dough. So I'm just gonna use a little bit of flour, kind of coat them a little bit here. And this right here is a good size. I'm gonna put it on my pan, my preheated pan, so that it won't stick. And I'm just gonna drop it on there as is. Not gonna worry about flattening it out or rolling them or anything like that, just little hunk. And the low setting on the stove is going to keep these from sticking for one and help them to rise and cook slowly. Just like the crispy potatoes where I showed you how to make crispy potatoes in a cast iron skillet, you do not want to flip these more than once. Kind of like with pancakes too, when you're making a nice pancake and you don't want it to stick, you don't continuously flip it, you just want to flip it once. So we're gonna let these sit on low for 10 or 15 minutes or until the desired amount of rising has taken place. Sometimes I'm in a hurry and I don't even let them go that long. They will rise a little bit even while just cooking, so you don't really have to worry too much about that. But after you let it sit for a little while and let it rise, you're gonna wanna turn it up to, not quite medium, but probably about 3 or 4, depending on your stove's settings. Now the reason for that is these English muffins have a tendency to cook on the outsides and then not the insides, So you don't want to cook them too quickly. Now, if you run into a problem where you've cooked the outsides and the insides still aren't done and you don't want to cook the outsides anymore, you can throw them in a pan and cook them in your oven on a low setting. Just put them in, that way they don't brown any further on the skillet, but you can just stick them in your oven on about 300 or maybe 250 for 15 or 20 minutes so the inside could get cooked without browning the outsides even further. I'm gonna take a little peek underneath these to see how well they're browning and see if we're ready to flip or not. That is just the amount of brown we are going for. Let's see if the other pan is done. Now, as you can see, they kind of stuck together, but they'll come apart just fine. Now, you just want to do it pretty gently because you don't want to risk taking away any of the rising action that you've achieved. Because you can see that they're a lot bigger than they were before. These are a little bit less done, but they look pretty darn good too. So I'm going to go ahead and let them start cooking on the other side, and I might turn them down back to low so that way they can get cooked all the way through without browning too much. So I'm gonna throw these back down to simmer. Simmer or low if you have that setting on your stove, 1 or 2. These on this pan are looking nice and brown and cooked all the way through. I'm gonna cut into these just to show you their English muffin-like texture and consistency. And even when you don't make them perfectly, they still are so wonderful for sandwiches, and my all-time favorite is to eat them warm, so either right after you make them or throw them in the toaster with just a ton of butter and honey. They are so good. It's like the best food on the face of this planet, so enjoy. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I hope that you've learned something new on how to make some really quick and simple bread product for sandwiches and breakfast or anything like that with your sourdough starter. Please be sure to subscribe to my channel for more food from scratch, natural living in a handmade home. If you're interested in that kind of content, hit that subscribe button. Also, stop by the blog, farmhouseonboone.com, for a lot more information. I will link that below on sourdough and English muffins and recipes and things like that. Thank you so much for stopping by the farmhouse.